What if I told you winning trades were more painful than losing trades? Well, you'd probably think I'm crazy. But in today's episode of the Trading Coach Podcast, we're going to take a peek behind the curtain and I'm going to show you what real trading looks like, what real traders have to deal with. And after listening, you'll probably understand why the internet wants to share a few different stories. Jason Stapleton, who's one of my mentors, he had his videos. It was a viral video called, I think, Craziest Trading You've Ever Seen. Who is this guy? And it was basically a Fibonacci inversion trade. It was the same trade, I believe, that I walked you through earlier. Same type. And it was just him walking through a day trade. He had the camera up. I didn't. But I loved that video. I love those videos because I think, people see how to do analysis all the time. People see the end result all the time. No one sees the torture that happens in the middle, right? So it's very similar. Like imagine like you're a famous sports player or you're like a famous actor, right? Everyone kind of knows like the story of like them training in the gym. Everyone knows the story of them like finally making it to the league. No one kind of knows like all the hardships that happen in between. Like we do that a lot with athletes where like, oh, these guys have an easy life. They're millionaires, right? LeBron James, man, his life is so easy. He's a millionaire. I wish I was LeBron James. But we don't actually see what LeBron James does in a daily basis, right? We don't see him coming home from practice every day and sitting in his hyperbolic chamber for 4 hours and ignoring his kids because he's got to rejuvenate his body for 81 more games, right? We don't see him, and I see it firsthand because I coach. Like, you don't see the mental toll that it takes on these athletes when they get booed at home because they have a bad game and they go home and they contemplate doing bad things, right? No one sees that part. So trading is the same way where it's like we always see the analysis. Oh, do this and this and this and this and this is how you take a trade. Ha! We always see the result. Oh, look at that. Took the trade and it did this, right? But we never see, unless we're doing what you guys see because you're in live rooms, but typically like on the internet, right, away from what we're doing here at Tier 1 Trading, no one sees like the harsh reality of like sitting in these trades. It's horrible, right? Have you guys ever, let me ask you a question. Has it ever been fun to sit in a trade? Seriously, has it ever been fun, right? No. Losing trades are horrible to sit through. I would argue winning trades are even worse. Like I'd much rather have a loser. I'd much rather have a winner overall, don't get me wrong. But I'd much rather have a loser that stops me out right away than a winner that goes on. Because I'll tell you what, if I'm stopped out right away, it's like cutting my head off swiftly, guillotine, right? Boom, I'm dead. Maybe the body wiggles for a little bit, but I'm pretty dead, right? The torturous one is sitting in a winning trade, watching it go up, knowing it's not at your profit level, knowing that it could reverse at any time and take away all of the sweet, delicious profit that you think you have, and you could be left with nothing. Like, that is horrible, guys. It is horrible. It is a horrible feeling. I don't know if you ever won a trade before. Winning trades are horrible. I'm going to make this a podcast. I'm going to title it Winning Trades Are Horrible. They're torturous, though. They're torturous. And 9 times out of 10, a winner just doesn't go in your favor. Right? Every once in a while we get a pain-free win. Those are the best, right? Because they just, you hit, they go right up, you're out of it before you know it, and you're like, hey, look at that. But most of the time, winners are, they trigger you, they take you down, they take you up, they take you down, they take you up, they take you on this emotional roller coaster. Your stomach does the weird thing where it flies into your mouth, and then it gives you a result. And you got to deal with that every single trade. Every single trade. This is why trading psychology is so important. Trading is mental torture. This is why trading psychology is so important. This is why it's not about, technicals are important, don't get me wrong. But your mind state, this is the main thing, right? This is why people like, I'm about to say Dr. Wendy Rhodes, the real version of Wendy Rhodes, Denise Scholl. This is why Dr. Brett Steenbarger, right? This is why these people are so important because we're retail traders, right? And we're going through this with our money, and it's torturous. Imagine if you're a prop firm trader like Cody, and you're going through it with someone else's money. where your funding is dependent on your result. Now imagine you're working for a massive fund or something like that, or a big prop firm, and you're dealing with all of this money. And your employment is based on your performance. Like if you don't perform, you're fired, right? Those things churn. I don't know if you know how prop firms work. They churn. It is like, again, a professional league, right? We were watching Welcome to Wrexham every day with my wife. And I told the story in yesterday's Q&A, but Wrexham is a professional football team in Wales. They're in the lowest tier, so they're in the tier right below like me and you playing outside, and they're trying to get promoted. And recently, when I say recently, a couple years ago, Ryan Reynolds and Rob, I think it's McElhenney, two actors, they bought the team, and there's a documentary about how they try to improve and whatever like that. So we're watching this thing, and this team sucks, right? It sucks. The manager sucks. The player sucks. And I'm telling my wife's super nice. I'm telling my wife, I said, hey, you know what? They're going to have to dump all these players. And she's like, well, no, like, can't they just give more effort? I'm like, no, I'm sure they're giving all the effort in the world. But babe, they're just not good enough. They suck. And she's like, do they have to? And I'm like, and the bad thing is, like, they suck and they're at the worst level in the league. So it's not like you're in a Premier League and you get cut from a team and you'll go to the Championship or a lower level Premier League. Like, these guys are working at like a grocery store. Like, they're getting a regular job. Like, they're going to go be a painter or something. They probably don't have a degree in anything because they've been playing soccer their whole life, right? They probably don't have a trade. So these guys are going to be on the street doing something. Like, their life is going to drastically change. And it's like, she felt bad for him, but that's the business, right, guys? Because guess what? If your team sucks and you don't do something to make your team better by replacing the players that are bad, guess who's getting fired? The person at the top. So if you're at a prop firm and you're not performing, guess who's getting fired? If your performance is low, the people at the top. Do you think the people at the top want to get fired based on your actions? Hell no. Get out of here. Bring someone in that's going to perform. If I'm a manager, I'm cutting the bad players. I'm trying to bring in better players. Right? So imagine that type of pressure while dealing with the normal pressure of being in the trade. That's why these guys, it's mandatory that they come in and speak with someone at least once a week. Because you got to get it off your chest. You got to get your mind state correctly. Because if you're in a bad mind state, your trading is going to go horribly wrong. Trust me, we've all been there. Think back to a drawdown you've had where you just get out of it. I've had drawdowns before, and I'll end the rant, I promise. I've had drawdowns before where I've lost all confidence in what I'm doing. Like, I swear to God, I've looked at a chart and I've forgotten how to read a trend. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. And this is coming from someone with 16 years of experience. I've looked at charts and like I've lost so much confidence that I couldn't read a trend. Like, I couldn't read it because I was that much in my head. Like I had taken good trades, don't get me wrong, right? In hindsight, I go back and review them, but like, it's only so long that you can do everything right and not get a right result that you start doubting yourself. And once that doubt creeps in, you go back to rookie trader mode where you're like, do I really know what I'm doing here? And then everything starts looking weird. You start making stuff up, and I couldn't read a trend. Now, fortunately, again, I don't have a person to talk to, right? Aside from I've got Jason Graystone, but you know, that would be the perfect moment where I go in and I talk to someone, and they figure me out. They get me back on the right track, right? Just like sports psychology, right? For me, over the years, I found out my thing, right? My thing is I go back, I review trades, I go back through old training. Right? I go back to the old training I took and I reassure myself that I'm doing the right thing. That's my out. Because I'm at the top of the food chain. I'm your coach. So you guys come to me when you're struggling, who do I go to? And usually it's Jason Graystone, but typically we're struggling at the same time, so it doesn't help. we're both in the same dark place, so it doesn't really help any of us out, aside from the misery loves company. But it's tough. It's extremely tough to be a trader. But people don't see that part. So that's what I loved about the Jason videos back then, because when I watched them, I got to see that, hey, this professional trader, this guy that is, and I know him from teaching me, obviously, but this guy, he's talking about and showing the same things that I'm going through, but he's staying true. He's not bailing. He's strong. And sometimes it's that little bit of just confidence that someone else has that allows you to be confident and dig yourself out of that drawdown. It's a little bit of hope that you need to keep going. And if you keep going, you'll get out of that drawdown every time. And as long as you're not making any serious mistakes. But if it's a natural drawdown, you'll get out of it. The problem is, before people have a chance to kind of, touch the bottom of the pool with their feet and push their way up, they just give up. They say, hey, this is never going to happen. It's done. And they allow themselves to drown. They give up on life instead of keep fighting. And you gotta keep fighting. Thank you as always for checking out the podcast. And remember, if you find yourself in a situation where you want some support, if you need some guidance, if you're sick of just seeing the highlight reel out there and you want the reality of trading, check out our website, www.tier1trading.com. I recommend starting off with a 14-day risk-free trial. That way you can get on the platform, download some software, check out some training, and get a feel for what our training, what our community, and what our philosophy about the markets in general is about before making any type of commitment. Again, www.tier1trading.com. Check out that 14-day risk-free trial membership. No auto bill, no silly stuff. Just get on the platform and let's get started learning.